I've got a question for you.
Oh, good Lord. Right,
Are we,
right in there.
are we living in a land where sex and horror are the new gods?
That feels like a quote, and I have no idea what you're talking about.
Do you not? I've just
No.
just came on to my Spotify thingamajig. Was Frankie Goes to Hollywood, Two Tribes?
Go to war.
Yes, are we living in a land where sex and horror are the new gods?
No, we're not.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
I'm far more squeamish about horror than I am about sex.
Do you see much sex in the cultural product you encounter?
Well, I was looking at some bread this morning, and I had a little problem with them, and I'm going to send you a photo, which will be in the show notes, and you let me know if I can see if you see sex in that particular cultural product.
Oh, I see. Is there something that becomes quite, shall we say, yonic in the display?
Yonic?
Yonic.
You are so cultured.
I was just trying not to use a word that would be immediately triggering to people listening.
What does yonic mean? Now you're going to have to use the words to describe it.
Another word would be vulvic.
Oh no! Have you got the photo yet?
You just sent it to me, and I'm just about to look at it. Hang about. Wow, that looks like a big bum.
Well, it would to you, wouldn't it?
What would it look like to you? That looks like a great big bum crack.
What about the bit out the side, the growth out the side?
I mean, that looks like a hedgehog if I look at it. It doesn't look...
It does look like a hedgehog.
Yeah.
It's like a sexy hedgehog.
Oh, it's a hedgehog who's showing its bum.
Oh, Lee Miller.
Hey, hedgehogs have bums. Don't you dare shame them for having botties.
No, I'm not. I'm not shaming them. Anyway,
Okay, good.
But I was surprised at how well Frankie Goes to Hollywood has aged. I mean, the song. No, obviously not. I was surprised. Like, in terms of the sound, and it doesn't... I mean, it's got a real 80s thing going on for sure, but it's not unlistenable.
I mean, I think quite a lot of that early 80s work is quite listenable. I can spend all day disappearing down a psychedelic furs hole.
Oh, what a great band.
Yeah.
I think that song...
Which one?
You know, the song.
Pretty in Pink?
No, the other one.
Okay, because they only have the two. Do you mean Love My Way?
Love My Way is exactly what I mean.
I mean, I had a 50-50 chance and I swung in the wrong direction.
You did, because Love My Way has been streamed 144.5 million times, while Pretty in Pink only 55 million times.
Now, do you think that's because Love My Way was used in a film that Timothée Chalamet was in recently?
Oh, almost guarantee. Anything that he touches,
yeah.
any cultural product he touches is likely to get that kind of purchase.
I'm going to say gently that I think that his Willy Wonka remake might be the straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back.
Is it out yet?
No, I think it comes out in December, but I couldn't get even halfway through the trailer before I had to switch it off while
did
screaming,
look really bad,
my
didn't it?
eyes, my eyes,
Yeah.
my eyes.
Yeah, I think I saw the trailer when I went to the Barbie film.
Oh, which I still have not done.
Okay. So
Simon,
no sex and horror.
Kennedy, Ellis, not for me, not this week, thank you. Although I did make a big curry yesterday by accident.
Hey, wait.
Do you ever do that?
By accident.
Well, in the sense that I had...
You mean the size or the curry?
Yeah, the curry was deliberate. The size was the accident.
Quantity. Yes, I definitely do that all the time.
Bob sent me a message saying, I've managed to get the 3:00 train home. There is not a seat to be had, and I've been running around. I didn't eat anything all day. I feel quite faint. I said, fear not, I will meet you at the station with a date ball to stuff in your mouth, which, I make these little sort of blended balls of dates and cacao powder and, that kind
like
of...
a
those
protein
energy balls
ball,
that just,
basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I said, and there'll be food waiting for you in the kitchen the moment that you walk through the door.
Right, so we're talking 7ish, right?
No, actually, she got in just before 6.
Oh, okay.
So relatively quick. That train is quite a quick one, which is, I think, it's anybody who's interested in.
It's the one before peak hour starts, probably.
Exactly, it's the last
cheap,
super off peak. Yeah, and then if you don't get that one, you've got to wait until after 7:00. So that one is always packed. The one just after 7:00 is always packed. They're two hideously overcrowded trains. Because of the deeply flawed
and they're relatively cheap. They're relatively cheap, but they're still not cheap.
Oh my God! We're talking. Yeah.
Are we living in a land where? Because seriously, the train system in this country, the price of it's.
Yeah. It is. It is astronomical. It is unreliable. It is poorly maintained. It's horrifying.
Yeah, it's everything you need to know about why privatisation is a dog's dinner.
Ugh. And breakfast and lunch, the whole lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had a couple of meetings during the window of her being on the train, and also a deadline of a piece of writing to complete. So I was quite pushed busy-wise. So I needed to do something that would, carry on quietly in the background. So I thought, curry, that would be great. I threw some pearl barley to soak, threw some lentils in, all of that kind of stuff. I'd forgotten that pearl barley will basically...
Expand and expand.
It's like exponential growth.
Yeah, it's extraordinary.
I put maybe a cup in, maybe a cup and a half to soak, and
4 tins of coconut milk to cover that.
Well, by the end of the soaking of the cooking, I had an entire big Le Creuset pan to the brim. To the brim. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was delicious, and we will be.
And it will be delicious today, and it will be delicious tomorrow, and perhaps even next episode.
No. Bob and I already had that conversation. She said, let's just pretend that you were doing that meal prep. And so we just put loads in Tupperware and stuck it in the freezer for the future. It's too much to even think about eating the next day. That's how much it was.
Mm-hmm.
Why was I telling you that?
You were talking about that because you were talking about a land, whether we're living in a land where sex and curry... No.
Anyway, I made a curry. Oh, have you ever made too much food by accident?
Yeah, but I don't know why you were talking about that.
No, I don't know either. Anybody who's listening to this podcast, write in, answers on a postcard. How did we
Could
get
you let
down
us
this
know,
rabbit hole?
please? Yeah, that would be great because it's not like we're going to listen to it again.
Christ, no.
Wait, can you just tell me, have you watched Sex Education yet? Season 4?
No, I haven't.
What are we going to talk about today?
I don't know. I have not had time. I don't know where you find the time to watch television.
Because...
I am absolutely up to the gills with work. Do you actually have time to do stuff that isn't work?
Yeah. I have a good work, as they say, work-life balance, as if somehow work is not part of your life.
I have a great work-life balance if we understand that work is part of your life.
That work is life.
Yeah, well...
I think that's a line from Ted Lasso, isn't it?
Work is life.
I think it's football.
I was walking Jeff this morning by the river, and I was speaking out loud to him my plans for a meeting that I am attending on Tuesday. And I was like, so, Jeff, what do you think if I lead with... Jeff said, yeah, that seems really good, but I think you need to circle back to that point, maybe talk about impact at the end.
I so can imagine Jeffrey talking about circling back. He's a circle back kind of guy, isn't he?
I mean, he circled back to the same bit of grass because he needed to go, hang about, I think there's some wee on there I've not sniffed, and he had a little wee.
You could, yeah. So we can't talk about sex education yet.
No, I
Do you
promise
think you
I
will
get around
watch
to
it?
Yeah. I've seen the other series, and I find them deeply affecting. I just have not had any time at all to commit to anything that requires... That's not true. I've been keeping up on a weekly basis, because I can afford 45 minutes out of the week, to watch Ahsoka.
Oh. I'm just going to give two little... They're not spoilers about sex education, just sort of what's the word?
In the context of sex education, I think you should probably say pre-com.
Yes,
That's
that was
wrong.
that was all
That's
I
where
was.
you were
That's
going,
where I
wasn't
was
it?
at,
Yeah.
and I was trying to avoid it. But no, you went there, didn't you?
Well, I went there because I knew that you were thinking it.
Premonition, no. Precursor, no. Anyway, something like
Preface?
that. Yeah, a little bit like. Come on, can listeners please write in and tell me what the word is? That would be great. Yes, one thing is that I think one of the last episodes they play the song "Footloose" by Kenny Loggins from 1980, Kevin Bacon, etc.
Put on your dancing shoes.
And I'd watched exactly, and I was watching, as I tend to do these days, which I think is deep in the middle of midlifing territory, with the
subtitles on, because if you don't, how do you know what people are saying? Because the sound mix is just so incredibly poor.
Exactly.
Okay, that is nothing to do with being middle-aged. That is everything to do with how sound mixing on streaming is working.
Could we get a sound mixer on? We could get a sound mixer on and interview him or her.
It's not the actual sound mixer themselves, because they mix for a surround sound system. And then what happens is it is played default for a surround sound system through streamers, and you have to go in and switch that setting off so that it brings the volume of the speech up to the front. Otherwise, it gets lost because they're assuming that it's going to be coming out of a specific targeted speaker at the base of your television.
Not out of some shitty little speaker at the base of an iPad.
Exactly, which is why. Or even if
so I could change that setting.
I think you can for some of them. Yeah,
look, can we? That's enough. That's
okay.
good for the episode.
Okay, bye.
Good. Yeah, bye.
So Kenny Loggins, Footloose.
Footloose, and of course the lyrics for the song were coming up. I realised I don't know how, but I've been having the lyrics all wrong for however many 40 years, and I don't know what I was thinking, because I'm a little bit ashamed to say what I might have been thinking. But I was like, no, that's not what they said, and so I did a whole anyway. So that's the lyrics to
Does
Footloose.
It not go, "Please, Louise, hold me off my knees"?
Yeah, kick off your Sunday shoes.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's some stuff in there.
Then dance.
I'd have to look it up. And I was shocked. And then the other thing is that I had to look up was the phrase cockbiter.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me what that means, because I mean, other than it sounds like somebody who bites a cock, but I don't know what the context would be.
Yeah, the context is that this is, again, just all our listeners, if this is not your wheelhouse, just skip forward 30 seconds. Or, in fact, it might be like 4 minutes. You'll have to skip forward. I had to look it up. And, of course, you can imagine how precarious it is doing a DuckDuckGo search for the words cockbiter.
I mean, you definitely don't go with an image search, or if you do, you make sure you've got safe search switched on.
Oh, is there such a thing?
Yeah.
I
always have safe search switched on when I'm on my work computer, so that even if I accidentally look for cockbiter in the context of a research bid that I'm writing, because of course, I'm not going to accidentally be sent to cockbitersareus.com or whatever the website might be.
I think that's exactly the website that I ended up on. And so, if you were to call someone a cocksucker,
yeah, I understand what that is.
It's basically exactly the same with the volume turned up.
Huh.
Yeah. So someone who's worse than a cocksucker is a cockbiter.
I find it really rather odd that we...
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm going to say? I'm going to say the deeply homophobic narratives around language that we are using, because surely you would want somebody to do that if you like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's odd, isn't it?
It is odd. It's a very odd... I'm sure there are other examples that come to mind. That
I mean, there are some that make sense, like motherfucker. It's like, ooh, we don't want that. That seems a bit gross.
I'm just
That seems
realizing
like a
I'm going to have to
legitimate
tick the X-rated box on the Apple iTunes thingy this week.
Don't we always?
I do. I just tick it by default. But it doesn't. It hasn't learned. Where's the AI when you need it? It hasn't learned that I tick it every week. I learned from a colleague this week that one of the best things you can do if you were, let's say, hypothetically, writing a research proposal for using ChatGPT. Again, just hypothetically.
Right.
That one of the best things you can do is say to Mr. GPT, I really wish it had a different name. What do you think, Neil? Should just call it.
I was going to go with Caroline.
Oh,
okay.
you went for a woman. I went for a man.
Maybe we need to go with a nice gender-neutral name like Blake.
Bob.
I think Bob is technically a man's name.
Also,
Bob
it's taken
has
as well.
Reappropriated. Yeah, it'd be weird if I was to say, let's call the language AI model
Let's
Bob.
use Bob.
Let's not. Hal.
Who? Hal. Okay, I'm afraid I. And so let's say we're. And is that one of the best things you can do is say, okay, I would like to write a research proposal. It needs to be this many words in this kind of voice. I'm an expert in this, etc. Can you please ask me what it is that you need to know in order to write this proposal? The other thing I learned this week, which I felt I wanted to talk about, was that I think the internet should be buried. I think it should be stopped. I learnt about something, a particular thing that goes on, which I'm just given the mood you're in, and also given your exhaustive understanding of, let's call it the world. You probably already know about this.
I probably don't, because you are super well-read and I'm an idiot. Go on.
Do you know about obituary pirates?
No, this is a new one on me.
Dear listeners, I'm just going to let my head just rest on the microphone. So there is a thing, of course there is, where people scrape obituaries from around the world, meaning from, like just the formal stuff of an obituary, and then read them out on YouTube in a kind of deadpan, very unaffected, very low-fi, so it's not like high production values or anything. And then they just do them over and over again, and then just meaning one obituary after another, new video. And they're basically getting clicks in order to get advertising money.
I'm a bit speechless.
It's really hard, isn't it?
Okay, so
just as before you get into it, the whole advertising model and the internet is so fucked. It's so fucking fucked. It really makes me livid. That's the end. It's not even the end game. We're not even at the end game. But if you imagine that's the direction we're heading, that's the kind of behavior it produces. I can't see any other argument for that.
So the thing I'm trying to get to is I'm going to take the monetization model off the table for a moment.
Okay.
And try to work out what the purpose of reading the obituaries are in the first instance.
The purpose is to get... Well, the weird thing... I'll put a link to the article that I happened across via one of my RSS feeds, right? So that's how I know about this. And so some of these YouTube channels, or some of the individual videos, have very few clicks.
Right, okay.
It's not like they've been watched millions of times.
No.
But what happens is because people search for obituaries all the time, right?
Yeah.
Because people are searching, they come up as a search result, and then people will.
Oh, right. Because I was thinking, if the clicks, if the advertising was following the clicks,
It's not.
right? Because that was the bit that was like, I don't. I was speechless because I was trying to figure out why would somebody be wanting to watch these things, and then I sort of went down a kind of a mental path of, oh, is this like kind of emotional mukbang?
Oh, you remind me what mukbang means again?
That's where you watch people eat food.
Oh, yeah.
Which isn't quite
We've talked about that in a very old episode, long time ago. Yeah, mukbanging.
Yeah, it's not mukbanging. It's not the same as ASMR where you're listening for the noises.
Sure.
It's people are eating and they're like, oh, this is this taco from Taco Bell is particular. Nom 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 nom. Oh, let's open. So there's lots of people eating vast quantities of food. Well, to my eye or to my belly, looks like vast quantities of food. And I don't personally see the appeal, but there's all sorts of things that people do for joy that I don't see the appeal of. ASMR does nothing to me. When people do that whole like whispering into microphones, it's like, okay, headphones off, burn the computer. I can't be doing with mouth sounds. Upsets me beyond words.
Yep. Yeah, it definitely doesn't. It's not a new god in this land of mine, that's for sure.
Thank you, Frankie. So I think that's where I got stuck. It's like, oh, okay, so there's people who like that kind of thing. It's not for me to yuck their yum, but you're telling me that that's not what's happening. People aren't really watching them. This is just a cynical bid, knowing that somebody is going to search for a particular obituary or type of obituary, and automatically, the way that algorithms work, it pushes YouTube up the top of the list. I have noticed. And then they will click either accidentally or otherwise on that to try and find out what it is, and therefore generate revenue.
And also because they're generating so many videos, so it's also the kind of concatenation of all of those videos together. And so this I don't know. It just and it's not even about the I'm not. It's not really about the people who are doing it, because I think we're all capable of terrible, horrible things, and we do terrible, horrible things all of the time. I'm definitely not ussing and theming the people who are making these videos. And, because I guess the easy thing to say would be, how morally depraved, how dare they do that? But the thing is, we are being, and that's I guess my kind of just deep sadness about this thing that had so much promise. Think of Tim Berners-Lee's. Wow, that's a hard name to.
That middle S is tricky, isn't it?
It's really Tim Berners-Lee's vision of the World Wide Web, and this is where we got to. And I just so there's terrible sadness, disappointment, frustration, anger that it seems the only model in town, more or less. I mean, clearly there are some pay-based models. Is these is ad generated or ad based model for the internet. It's just like, ugh.
Yeah, it is kind of repellent, but also I find myself wondering how, in the noise of advertisement, is there going to come a tipping point where people realise it's good money after bad, because it's not really generating any more clicks, because people are not really going, oh yeah, that thing that I saw on Instagram I must go and buy, versus I'm just going to type it into Amazon because that ship has already sailed. And if anything, probably you're going to see, oh, underpants with special pouch to do something or other. Let's go to Amazon and see if there's a cheaper version. Yeah. So already it feels like what's probably happening is people are spending money on advertisements only to drive revenue to a massive global multinational that doesn't need to advertise. Maybe I don't know.
Although I wouldn't want to get into this too much now, but the sci-fi writer Cory Doctorow, who's he's a pretty interesting writer, but he's a long way on the left, let's say. He talks about, he uses the word inshittification. He's written a lot about something like Amazon, which of course starts off as this thing, but if you look at Amazon now, and if you do a search on Amazon, you the stuff that's peddled to you at the top, like the first pages, are basically just advertising based, and also mostly Amazon produced things. It's very hard to actually find the thing, or find let's say a authentic version of the thing you're looking for. You have to really work hard to do that. And he uses the phrase "inshitification." It's really, if people are interested in, again, the way in which the internet has changed behaviour and the way in which companies operate in relation to selling stuff online, it's really worth looking into. Not that this is that kind of podcast, but
what is this kind of podcast? Because it's,
exactly, Lee Miller.
We're now, we know where we started, which was with Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and we started with nostalgia, and now we're at anxiety about the future. It sounds to me like this is peak midlifing. We're worried about what will be and celebrating what was.
And how we got here. How did we get here?
Yeah. How did the world turn into this? Well, because of people like us.
Oh, no.
It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true.
And also, it's just basically summed up. We don't have to podcast anymore.
Were you a nail biter?
I was a nail biter for sure.
Well, I never.
Yeah, I don't want to shame any nail biters out there, just in case you're listening.
No, I'm not shaming them. It's just it was a successful thing because I had never noticed that you were a nail biter.
I'm no longer, but it took several bouts of Stop and Grow, future sponsor, to help me out there.
Wowzers, wowzerinos. I don't know. I don't know how to best that. That feels like we just peaked.
I think we're done.
I'm going to stop recording.
Hey, see you next week, Lee. Hey, Lee, see you next week. Bye.